Everyone. So there is a lot of traction going on about Anthony Davis potentially being traded, that the Lakers are at least open to hearing offers for a trade for Anthony Davis. Now, this really got spearheaded by Bill Simmons, and I haven't really seen any like official reports. Personally, I don't really buy it. I think it was more of just like an idea of like, hey, should the Lakers trade Anthony Davis? But we saw yesterday it kind of became like this viral thing, especially over on Twitter. A lot of people were saying, Anthony Davis should be traded, this, that, and the other. The problem is that there's a multitude of reasons why this doesn't make any sense. One, we can't tank this year because our pick goes to the Pelicans, right? So why would we go and trade Anthony Davis? Because you're not going to get stars for Anthony Davis, right? If you're going to trade Anthony Davis, you're trading him to rebuild and hit the reset button and just start over. The other thing is, too, is that we can't trade LeBron James this year. And so unless LeBron signs off on it or, he has an injury that has him miss, a majority or all of the season or something, it just doesn't make sense to go and trade Anthony Davis, and now LeBron James is just stuck with a bunch of like role guys or just young guys. The other thing is, what value in what trade would we do? Would we get? You know what? We're going to trade him to Chicago and get what? Vucevic, who he's a 2010 guy, but we're losing everything on the defensive end. Not only are we losing everything on the defensive end, he's an expiring deal, so he could just leave. DeMar DeRozan isn't going to save us, right? He's not going to come in and be better than Anthony Davis. And then, at least on both sides of the ball, maybe scoring-wise, sure, but you're losing, again, all that defense. Maybe you can get Caruso back, but okay, he's not going to have that much of an impact. And a couple firsts, it doesn't make any sense. There isn't a trade. What, are you going to trade him to the Warriors and get, Kuminga and Moody and Wiseman? Maybe, I guess, but they're not looking very good for the Warriors right now. So do you really want to build and develop and build around that? It just doesn't make sense however you slice it. And Anthony Davis has still been arguably our best player, right? I mean, he's been defensively the best player. Many people have him currently defensive player of the year if he continues his play the rest of the season. He has stretches of just absolute brilliance. And you're like, this guy could be the best player in the league. And then you realize, he's 29 and inconsistent. He has these stretches where he just seems like he's just this unicorn, right? He's just this brilliant talent. His shot isn't really falling for him. His shot isn't really working for him right now. Hopefully that gets picked back up, right? He's been dealing with some back issues, some back tightness, but he's saying he's starting to feel better. That seems to be kind of working itself out. If that is the case, and he can kind of get over that, maybe his shot picks back up. Last night's game, he actually had some shots. He made the 1-3 that he took. He was making some jumpers, especially on the elbow, which used to be automatic for him. He's very inconsistent, which is a problem. And I do agree with that, right? He has a half where he puts up 16 and then a second half where he puts up 2. And you're just like, what? He needs to be able to put it together for 48 minutes or however long he plays, 30 minutes, 38 minutes, whatever. He needs to be able to put it all together. And if he can put it all together, this Laker team may be able to win some more games. But we need that. We need that dominance from him. But in reality, he's not a number one guy, right? He's just not. As much as we want him to be, he's not. And he needs more of a setup than anything else, right? Every time he's been just brilliant, he's had that point guard that really sets him up. And LeBron is not helping him or setting him up this season. If you look at all the stats, all the numbers, everything like that, LeBron James running that pick and roll with Anthony Davis is not as effective as it once was. LeBron's not operating it properly. Russ and Anthony Davis are actually really good together. Russ and Anthony Davis are one of the best pick and roll duos in the league right now, and their numbers with Russ and AD on the court are actually better than LeBron and AD on the court. But a lot of that is just, I think, LeBron's poor play as of late. He hasn't been as good and as aggressive as a Russell Westbrook would be. But nonetheless, Anthony Davis is still if you're going to trade Anthony Davis, you need an upgrade, right? Or you need something at least parallel. So if the Kevin Durant traction that seems to be going on too, if that is a thing, then yeah, I absolutely think if Rob Pelinka got a phone call right now and was like, hey, we'll trade you Kevin Durant for Anthony Davis and 2 first-round picks, I think the Lakers would do that immediately, right? Especially if you could get Kyrie, right? Like, we'll trade you Kyrie and KD for Russ and Anthony Davis. Like, that is something the Lakers, I think, would do in a heartbeat, right? You got Kyrie, LeBron, and Kevin Durant. If you're the Lakers, you do that, right? You already have a top 5 defense. You just don't have the scoring. You take the top 5 defense we have, you add Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, you have a legit championship contending team, and you could probably be competing for championships for the next at least 3 years, right? Especially even LeBron, if he is taking a step back and he is regressing, you have Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant that can handle the scoring load. LeBron, he could go get you 20 just because he's that just brilliant and talented and just creative, right? So you'd have all the scoring you need. Whatever you get from any of your role guys is just extra. You're just telling your role guys, look, we just need you to play defense. That is it. Go play defense. But I don't necessarily think the Brooklyn Nets would do something like that. I don't think it's like that far-fetched, right? If you're Brooklyn, you can't tank either. You might be looking at, the Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook numbers and going, man, that's actually a really good duo. Because they're a really good duo this year. You might be looking at it as like, we have a bunch of shooters. If we go get a guy like Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook and put them with all our shooters, maybe we could turn the season around. The big, elephant in the room would be Ben Simmons, but maybe they bring Ben Simmons off the bench. He's not playing a ton for him right now anyway. And on top of that, like, maybe you just move him and unload him and get what you can for him. That's a possibility. I don't necessarily think that they'll do that, but it's at least something to keep an eye on. But unless this becomes a thing, unless the Lakers get an offer like this, like a Kevin Durant or something, then I just don't think you can do it. If some other star comes up, even then, like, let's say Bradley Beal. I'm not trading Anthony Davis for Bradley Beal. Who are you trading for Bradley Beal or for Anthony Davis that is going to be an equivalent? Because you got to consider both sides of the ball. We have a top 5 defense because of Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is the anchor defensively. He's an incredible big that can guard the perimeter and guard the paint and protect the paint. Like, we've seen him switch out on perimeter guys and then recover and get back to go block a shot. Like that, I don't know if you know how incredibly hard that is to do, but it is extremely, extremely hard to do. So unless this is really a thing, which it might be, there's a lot of talks about it, I just don't see the Lakers at any point trying to trade Anthony Davis. Like, would they listen to trade offers? Sure, because why wouldn't you? Nobody should be untradeable. Because you never know. Like, what if you get some crazy offer? Would you trade Anthony Davis for Giannis? Of course you would. I'm not saying that would ever happen or that the Bucks would ever do that, but you listen to trade offers. If you get some, like, ridiculous deal, but even if you were to trade Anthony Davis, like, what kind of package would you get? Right? I mean, look at what Rudy Gobert got. Right, they got essentially 4 draft picks, a rookie, so you could say 5 draft picks. They got Vanderbilt, right? They got Beasley, and they got Patrick Beverley. So they got like 3 rotation guys, and 4 picks, and like a rookie. Like, that's insane. So what is the value of Anthony Davis? Because Anthony Davis is night and day better than Rudy Gobert on both sides of the ball. Like, what is it? You're talking, 7 first-round picks? 6 or 7 first-round picks? And, like, 5 rotation guys? Like, what team in the league has that right now? Right? I mean, even for us to trade for Anthony Davis, we had to give that up, basically. We gave up, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram. We gave up 4 draft picks, a bunch of pick swaps. So you got to be looking, if you're trading Anthony Davis, you're looking at it as like, okay, well, we need like 4 or 5 quality players and we need like 4 or 5 draft picks. Like, what team is doing that? What contending team is doing that? Because no rebuilding team is going to want to trade for Anthony Davis because they're going to know that he's not going to want to be there. So what title contending team is going to do that? Like the Suns, like what are you going to get? You're going to get Ayton and like maybe Bridges? And Jake, like, get Bridges, Crowder, and Ayton, and like a bunch of firsts. Like, those firsts are going to be, worthless. And you basically just, Bridges is nice, but he's not like, He's not a guy that's going to be, you know, a superstar one day. And then Ayton, like, yeah, he's a solid center, but he's not an Anthony Davis. Like, again, you're backtracking. Like, I just don't see a scenario where the Lakers trade Anthony Davis, at least this season. You know, maybe next season, if like things continue to go terrible and they can't turn it around, they can't do a trade that kind of like gives us hope, or, you know, Kyrie Irving doesn't walk through the door or something like that, and it's just a disaster and it's a mess, and it's like, okay, like Anthony Davis and LeBron James aren't it anymore, then I could see them maybe potentially trading Anthony Davis this off season. But during the season, I don't see it. I don't think it makes sense, and I don't think it's something that they would do. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. Would you trade Anthony Davis? And if so, what would you trade it for? I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions on that. You know, like, you're not trading Anthony Davis for like a Miles Turner and Buddy Hield. Like, that's not happening. So what value are you going to get that's worth Anthony Davis? You know, I mean, he's still an incredible talent. He still is a top 15 guy at the worst in the league, whether you want to admit it or not. He still is. I mean, the guy's averaging 23 points a game still this year, giving you some of the best defense, if not the best defense out of any player this year. Like, he's most people's favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year. So it's like, you know, what value are you getting from him? I just don't see it. But again, love to hear your thoughts, opinions, good, bad, ugly, somewhere in between. Let me know down in the comments.